Hey everyone. So yeah, I'm not literally asking for your name, but it is a question, a valid question. What is your name? Like to use to as a handle, a way of getting hold of someone. You say their name as opposed to just calling everyone Markwa. And hey Markwa, yes, it gets confusing if everyone has the same name. The idea of a name, words have power. Words have meaning assigned to them. Anyone that work in marketing or branding would tell you how important a name is. Companies spend a lot of money on the name. The name determines popularity, and especially in different countries, different associations with the words. There was that experiment about the words Kiki and Bobo, and what you would associate with a sharp object and what you would associate with a blunt object. And Kiki sounded more like it'd be a sharp object because of the letters used. The K-I, very jagged. And Bobo, B-O-B-O, very rounded letters. Seem like it'd be more of a blunt object that's being described. Well, there's certain things that come into play when picking a name for something, suiting its personality. I remember years ago, there was a girl that I knew who was in the early days of Facebook into a bit of Facebook bullying. She was bullying another girl for her weight. The girl's name was Cat. She was on the Facebook calling her Fat Cat and other bits and pieces. Not very pleasant to read, especially if you were struggling with weight issues, but found it quite entertaining that a few years after I'd seen her in this environment, she had settled down with a guy who was working as a policeman, I believe. And she was working in a pizza place and ended up eating a lot of pizzas, especially ones that were going for free, and ended up quite overweight herself. And I did wonder, is anyone going to be making fun of her name the way she was making fun of others? And then realized her name, Anita, it already has the no no work needed. And I find these things are quite entertaining. Sometimes you'll find people that have exactly the name that suits a story or an association that you have with them. And my name I find entertaining. Daryl, Daryl, stands for Data Analyzing Robot Youth Lifeform. So, as you can imagine, many different philosophy thoughts that I've had, many different psychedelic trips that I've had, my name comes back to haunt me. Am I just a robot life form that is being used to analyze what a child goes through in its stages of adulthood? I mean, I'm not too worried one way or another. Either I am or I'm not. My experience is no different. But the name is important. The things that come away from the name, the nicknames that come from it, the surname that you choose. I was given the choice of my mum's maiden name or my dad's name, as my dad left when I was young. I still chose my dad's name. I think it was because I was in primary school at the time and they used to go by register, alphabetical order. So the lower your name is, the closer you were to the front of the line. So I chose Golden over Lynch, as G beats L. And it is interesting, the Darrell Golden gematria being 117, same as the angel number 117, and many different things that I delved into in that video. It was also during the days of doing stand-up comedy, I had a little hand puppet penguin whose name was Mr. Penguin. And believe it or not, that name was actually very difficult to come up with. It took a lot of effort. So there was Mr. Penguin, who was going about doing stand-up comedy, going to nightclubs, being involved in rap battles, other things, and became a bit of an association with me. Like to a point where I even had someone recognize the penguin in a nightclub before, because I was walking around with him on my hand. Someone recognized him from this rap battle that had been posted a few days beforehand, someone that was friends with the other guy. And he wanted to have his picture taken with the penguin, which was amazing to have a hand puppet recognized in public, the real thing walking around. But the power of the name and the number that the name generates. Mr. Penguin is actually 117, same as Darrell Golden. We were on the same path from the beginning. Yeah, he's still around. It's been used as a tool for being able to create certain character of thoughts. And I think that a name that you give is going to have that kind of an effect. It gives certain things that are associated with those names in a way that you could imagine in school being given a name that also has a meaning. Sandy, you could imagine something would come up involving sand, because at some point kids will be in a sandy environment together or learning about sand. This is something that you could imagine by association would have shaping on the character, depending on who and what actually takes place in the shaping. Now, names are important. One of the things to remember, as we are all one, is that the names that we take on are like personas, which is what a person really is. It's a different persona of this one infinite energy that's cycling round, going about for eternity. The personas that it takes on make up each of us, and the spell of that person being the name ultimately is not me. That's what name stands for. Nami. It's Nami. Or in Latin, name is nomen, which is no men. As soon as you associate with the name, you associate with the body, you associate with the physical. You are bound to the physical. When you recognize the full extent of our divinity, we are each and every one. Say name, there's doesn't make sense. I am the eternal now, the ever present being. You're in a courtroom and they're asking for your name. They're asking you to identify with a piece of paper, which they can then charge. Until they have your name, the court cannot proceed. So obviously, this channel is for entertainment purposes, and you should be getting proper legal advice and representation if you're in those kind of financial or other such troubles that involve lawyers. But that is how it works in a courtroom. They need your name in order to progress. I'm not saying that you will have a happy outcome if you go around breaking the law and then refusing to give your name when you get into the court. I don't think it works like that in the slightest. But if you are on the right side of the law, do you think that there is ways that you can express that you are God, who is love, unconditional love? We all have this connection to source. We are the source in motion, and there is no way of charging you individually if you don't identify as the individual. And these sound like ridiculous things that come about from the whole I identify as this, that, and the other crew. This is, I think, possibly one of the reasons why that agenda was pushed forward, is as if to say, well, if you identify as this, that, and the other, you can now have legal documentation declaring that, meaning that you would have a legal documentation in court, which is still something they can charge you with. But to remain unnamed could grant you greater power than to have a name. So they talk about not taking someone's name in vain, not taking the Lord's name in vain. That would be blasphemy. I wonder what it means to take the Lord's name. Is that possibility of Christ consciousness? But taking the name in vain may be to claim that you have reached this consciousness without reaching it. And these are all interesting things to consider. What happens if you change your name? A lot of people claim that they have had a lot of success in life after changing their name. They've changed personality, they found confidence from within. People claim that their old names, their dead names, or slave name, I've heard it called, held them back, that their new chosen name gave them a new power. There's anime such as That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, where Rimuru manages to give enemies or energy, to all sorts of creatures and monsters that he named. And the naming itself gave a specific type of power based on what the name was. So that brings about the question that got me thinking about this video. What is your name? Is it just a way of contacting you, the person, or is it something that shapes you into a specific destiny? That if you recognize this, you might be able to change your destiny by picking another name, like Lil Dice choosing Lil Z in City of God, changing his destiny. The Neo from The Matrix choosing the name Neo over Mr. Anderson. Thomas Sanderson. The choosing of the name, is it something that is better if it's chosen by yourself, or is it better if it's chosen by another, one that you respect? Maybe by changing your name, it's a form of witchcraft. You're changing the spelling, changing your destiny, and changing the numbers that it's associated with. Or maybe it's not possible to change your name at all. Maybe it would still be linked to the initial name that you were given. Or perhaps it all depends on how strong the links that you feel between you and that name are. How sensitive are you to these links? Can you feel anything linking there or not? Not everyone has the sensitivity. I can imagine what it feels like, but I think for me it's a bit different. I've had a very deep connection with all of the names, every name that I have, even my nickname Daz. I had the music that I used to create on Music 2000. I had under the name Dead Animal Zoo, which is what my initial YouTube name was. The links between the DAZ and the alphabet, the D being form. So DAZ is like a form of alphabet, form of the A to Z. I love different alphabets, different languages. Like I've learned the Hebrew alphabet, the Japanese, hiragana and katakana. I'm learning the Arabic alphabet, the Greek alphabet. Something about the writing styles that I do find very intriguing. And it seems like the phonetics are what's important, because phonetics have shared meanings, different things that stretch across many different languages, where those syllables would have that similar meaning. Things meant a different thing years ago than they do now. It's one of the things I noticed in the Bible when I was reading through the very boring beginning, where you have such and such begat such and such begat such and such. And you think it's just talking about the family tree of different people that were born from different people. But then when you realize that the Bible isn't meant to be taken literally, that these aren't all records of literal historical people, you realize that the names actually have meaning too, and that the meanings that you have with the names can be used to interpret a different message coming across. Say, Rocky begat Sandy could have different meaning based on different elements that you see coming across the rock and the sand. That's something that you wouldn't find. That's something that I'm given as an example of different wordplay. What you did find in there was other names, more old names like Methuselah, Enoch. These names have meanings. The way that the sentences form when you list a bunch of names in a row, you find hidden messages everywhere in the Bible. I'll probably make a video on that at some point where I can do the visuals. I think that would make quite a nice video. Are then names like Jesus? Is that a name that we're supposed to take? Ask and ye shall receive. It does say, I am the way, the truth, and the life, or the light. It would make sense that we're here to have a Jesus experience of some sort before moving on to the next plane of existence. And is it possible to be nameless in this world? What would it mean to be nameless? No one knew your name. Surely someone would make up a name. That guy over there with no name, that becomes your new name, or is it a title? When you look at everything, dual meanings, different meanings in different languages, different numerical meanings from gematria value. There's so many different things that your name could possibly mean that it is very tricky business to actually name something and have it be fit for purpose. That is quite interesting. I think I'll end this video here, but thanks for watching. Should have more videos with you soon. Stay tuned for more.